back up, continue meeting of the Washington Township Zoning Commission for the wind waste irrigation pond permit. You roll call.
Marie Corbin, here. Rob Coleman,
Here.
Randall Kirian,
Here.
Ed Harmon,
Here.
Randy Bose.
Here. Accept the minutes for the previous continuation. We roll call on that. Will you move to accept the minutes?
I move to accept the minutes.
Need a second?
Oh, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passes. I'd like to welcome you all here tonight. We do have a few county people here with us.
I'll start. So Jake Mercer, Washington Township Zoning Inspector.
Cindy Lamb, Assistant Prosecutor from Hancock County.
Del Rio County Prosecutor.
Any trustees here tonight?
Kirk Knoll, John Grossman,
Danny Holman.
I'll have you all here. Old business, and we're going to continue discussing the pond permit. Do you have any correspondence?
We did receive one correspondence since last meeting. It is from Lindsay Summit, and she's the Director of Environmental Health for Hancock Public Health. And I'll just read it into the record. It says, Dear Washington Township Zoning Commission, as Director of Environmental Health of Hancock Public Health, the public health department that serves the residents of Washington Township, I am concerned regarding how the potential development on parcel 51000103252, the Lowry Farm, as a pond may impact outlet tiles used for household sewage treatment systems located at 23518, 23740, and 23816 of County Road 216, Fostoria, Ohio. Damage to any tile on parcel number 51000103252 that may be used for household sewage treatment system drainage may create a public health nuisance that could become costly to the house owner. To avoid minimal disruption of the septic system at the above referenced locations, I would suggest that provisions be made that a public health nuisance, that prevent a public health nuisance from occurring. Also, please be advised that the Ohio Administrative Code, Chapter 3701-29-06 E4 states in part, a sewage treatment system shall comply with the following performance requirements and prohibitions. No STS shall discharge to any ditch, stream, pond, or lake, natural or artificial waterway unless authorized by an NPDES discharge permit pursuant to Chapter 6111 of the revised code. As the designated authority charged with reviewing the proposed bond at the parcel, I am respectfully requesting that you take my concerns into consideration. Sincerely, Lindsay Summit.
Just move it, put it on the record.
Just move to put this on the record.
I move we add that letter to the record.
Need a second? Somebody from Lynn Interventions want to explain what they dropped on us here just a little bit ago?
Yes, good evening. We appreciate the correspondence back. We received that last week. I'm Ben Nutter with Wind Waste Innovations. This is Nathan Taylor, our Wind Waste Innovations site engineer. We also have Vice President of Landfills, Brian Ezek, our attorney, Dean Henry, our general manager for Wind Waste Seneca County, Tim Watson, and Jeremy Hirely of CEC Civil Engineers. And Nathan will explain to address the questions that you sent us and what we talked about last week, the additional drawings that you received and information you received.
Yeah, so I'll walk through your letter. Thanks for that. I also, like Ben said, Jeremy Hirely from CEC, who's the civil engineering consultant that worked on this design, is here for any other technical questions as we go through it. So, question one was detailed plans showing a finished bank elevation, side slopes, erosion protection to the side slopes, at the water level, the final surface water elevation, bottom elevations, overflow outlet structures, and grading plan. Those are provided on sheet 1 with the for the grading plan showing the final bank elevations and the water level elevation at 787.5 with the typical cross section for the bank coming off of the access road at 4:1 with a 5% shallow section of it, and then the 3:1 with erosion protection right at water level all the way around the pond. Then the outflow structures was added to sheet 3. There's detail 1 and detail 2. Detail 2 is the temporary proposed outlet structure that will be placed during construction. It's a skimmer system to collect the water off the top of the pond so that the sediment stays in the bottom. And then the final outlet structure, which is a submersible perforated pipe down at the bottom that acts as a kind of a U-trap that the water goes up with gravity and discharges at 787.5, which is what sets the water level. And then the final one was a grading plan, and that again is on sheet 1 with the banks, top of bank, and then the 0.5% slope on the floor heading to the outlet location. Comment 2 was concerning the wildlife deterrent to keep geese, deer, and other nuisance away from the pond and decimating neighboring properties and crops. Wind Waste is committed to, at the completion of this project, to consulting with ODNR for best practices to maintain this throughout the life of the property. That's a process that Wind will start as we start the project. Again, maintenance plan for when the project is complete, who's responsible for this? That is Wind. We are the owners. Just as any other pond owner is responsible for their property, Wind is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of this property. We've also in here committed to annual inspections for, not limited to, inlet outlet structures, bank slopes, perimeter road, drainage tiles, and other structures. And deficiencies will be repaired as soon as they are found, and that documentation will be kept throughout the ownership of the property. Drainage plan for everyone upstream with field tiles. As we stated last meeting, and part of the soil and water district approval was to not interfere with the current water flow. So we have added, as we stated, we will maintain those going into our pond, but in order to cover that and make it more detailed, we've added detail 3 on sheet 3, that as soon as a field tile is encountered during excavation, it will be exposed with a riprap outlet right below the pipe, and an animal guard will be placed on the outside of that drainage tile to keep it flowing into the pond and to keep other fields to be able to drain. And then the final one was number of feet of dirt that will be left above bedrock. Sheet 2 are cross sections showing that the bottom has been designed at a minimum 5-foot separation. More in most places, but the minimum at the low spots is 5 foot of separation from the bedrock.
Do you mind showing me your sheet 3?
Yeah.
Yours looks a lot different than ours.
Might have printed. It looks like your printer.
Did I print the old version? Oh, it just disappeared. That's sheet three. That's supposed to be.
Is there?
Well, so this is the water quality channel on this is the outlet pipe. And the temporary skimmer is here, so that's, again, construction, probably pumping or house, goes to purpose. The overflow then is either through the bottom or there's a window in the top of the structure that will allow the water, the permanent water level set at 77.5. Detail three with the field tile outlet is depicted here. I apologize, I did not catch the last page in the print properly.
So then I guess I wonder if the other pages are right, because you said, what page was it that showed the rock on the bank?
It's on the sheet one, detail one on the right.
Yes.
That's the access road, and there's a 4-to-1 slope and a 5-to-1 shallow, and you see the concrete separation right here. And that's where the water level is dropping down 3-to-1, and the water level is right there, it's 20 feet long. The road is not.
So, okay, this is where the water level is.
Yes, yeah.
Up here,
So this is just longer up here.
yeah,
So we come down,
4-to-1.
yeah, come down to the water level's there. The water level will be, greater than constantly over that line. And then they get closer together, so they go to 3-to-1.
Right. I just, how are you going to control, cause this, up here, there's gonna be about 15 to 20 feet.
Yeah, so this would be all.
It's actually gonna be
seeded
longer.
with erosion matting around here.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're gonna use the netting.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because that will be, we won't, we'll have erosion ruts all the way through.
Right.
Yeah. We use that all the way around the site, yeah. Yeah, we use erosion matting on all 3-to-1 slopes.
And I assume you have a emergency school there?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's graded in, this is the whole spot, so if you're looking at this berm right here. This is kind of drop down.
Yeah.
And the emergency school is,
Okay. How did you arrive at that size?
just big of a catchment area.
Does that take into account when the last meeting, someone had mentioned they find that
Excuse me, we have the audience, just, please, thank you so much.
We haven't accounted for unformed child coming in. That's a, once we get into actual field conditions and counter, we can make adjustments to the outlet limits if necessary.
Yeah, so that's kind of like based on what, what we know is out there. The peaks will be totally different.
Yep.
Can you confirm the acreage of the Echo Pond? Cause I have here 96.81 on the borough area data, but I think that's different than what we had the last time.
I think when we changed the slopes, it used to be all 3-to-1 slopes, and when we added, when we flattened the top to 4-to-1 and added a bench, made the pond area should be slightly smaller.
Yeah, I think we had 98 at the last meeting. Is that
Yeah,
right?
96.
94.
96.81.
So these plans are different than the ones we received last time.
Yeah, these are updated.
Yeah.
And these are considered the final
Mhm.
bench? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it 94?
How much of a problem is it gonna be for soil and water to get in to maintain that ditch? I mean, is there gonna be gates on the road,
For the road crossing, no, there won't be gates there. And there's an access road around the outside that gets them back to that ditch. Perimeter access road graded in there.
and it won't be gated off?
No, that's stable, that's it, all the way to the rows.
Okay.
And can you give us how long was the dig for all 4 sections? Did we confirm?
I guess that's.
What was the question?
The length.
The what?
The length of excavation, that's,
Oh,
yeah.
see, we talked about last time the length of excavation, so
Duration.
duration, and there was a question as to whether it would have to be completed with a year with 1-year extension. And you talked at some length about that.
Who are you pointing to?
You, yeah, and what was your thoughts on that?
Mr. Eagle and I had a disagreement about whether the project needed to be completed in a year or not. I haven't talked to the engineers with the revisions as to how long it would take to get this done.
So it's, right, currently the plan says a year with at least a year extension.
This one that we just got is a year, you're doing this in a year, the year extension.
That is the plan. Well, a year with a year extension.
So you backed off for 5 years?
It is our
Yeah.
desire to have as long as possible to move the soil.
Yeah.
We're going to need to construct the pond. If we need to construct it faster, that would increase the amount of traffic that would be going across the county road and could present greater logistics challenges than conducting the excavation and the pond construction over a protracted time. If this body limits the time available, we'll accelerate the construction such that we comply with whatever the approval is. It is our desire, again, to do this over as long a period as possible, to give us the time to use the soil in a natural way at the landfill. But if there's an artificial constraint, then we will accelerate. And that would just mean more traffic, which may or may not be desirable for stakeholders. Certainly less desirable for us.
The water, normal water level 77 and a half. Then it goes into this hole in the side of the catch basin.
Last
It's
meeting,
like
I
12
had asked for
inches.
an example where
And
you
then it gets
pointed
rid
out
of that.
along two twenty-four.
The top of the catch
I don't
basin,
know, wasn't
789.
fully understanding the
And
question,
so
I thought
it
that was,
goes off this
for
15 inch
example,
pipe
you
to
have
the
a
ditch.
finished site.
Then it keeps getting fuller.
Yeah, we have, two finished ponds they're on our site, that are holding water like this, yes. Not the one off 224 is not finished.
Was taking stone out of that one, the initial plan, or you got to stone and decided it was a good idea?
Slightly before, but I think the latter, yeah. If we got all the soil out there. Yeah, so is this? No, this doesn't have the full extent, so. The two that are on this is a hole for cell phones, so I would show you on my phone, but.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, the one from our front entrance, you can see it right up back behind our office, the one area where this was done.
And it's completed.
Yeah, completed, yeah. And the other one's farther in as you go back in and around.
How long has it
I've been there for a while. I don't know if I can answer that. But before I was there, I started in 2020. But yeah, they were borrow areas turned into nice ponds that are working. What's that? And full, yeah.
You said one of those is not completely.
No, they're both complete.
They're both.
Yeah.
I guess in my thinking, when you look at the zoning book as a whole, this is a agricultural district. And the intent of an ag district is, it says A1 ag districts are intended to provide for agricultural use. Of those areas best suited to farming activity, and recognizing that prime farmland is unrenewable resource. To protect and preserve such land from agricultural, or for agricultural use. The intent is to provide for an environment of predominantly agricultural activity. This, in my mind, does not take into, if we allow this to happen, does not take into consideration how precious farmland is. This is more of a industrial use and would need to be changed maybe to industrial instead of agriculture. Because these plans are somewhat here, but this basically as a whole is gonna hold water. There's no level banks around it. That's my opinion.
So what are you saying there, Randy?
Which part?
The part you guys were just discussing there about agricultural land, putting it into industrial, the banks, it's holding water. What are you saying there?
The intent of the zoning resolution is, as a whole, is to protect and preserve agricultural farmland in an A1 district. This is an A1 district. That's that part. They're wanting to use this as a borrow pit. It's an industrial use, which is not permitted in an A1 ag district. And the plans that they gave us, like was stated earlier, there's 20 feet of difference between one corner of the property, or one corner of the pond to the other. And that's how it's gonna be dug. So where the ground is 20 feet higher, the water level is gonna be 20 feet, or maybe 22 feet below the surface of the existing ground. Whereas down by the creek, where it's 20 feet lower, it's gonna be 5 feet lower than existing ground. Anybody have any other thoughts?
What do you guys think? Do you agree? Is this part of your operation? This part of your landfill operation?
What we're applying for, well, I'll let Dean answer that, what we're applying for here and what your accepted uses are and what your agent said.
Allow me to be blunt and honest. What the owner does with their dirt is their business. This is not an industrial site. You're wrong. It doesn't match the definition of industrial under your regulations.
Doesn't the dirt get a voice?
Am I supposed to be addressing
Yes,
the
please.
body? Okay.
Yes.
This doesn't come close to meeting an industrial site. And as far as a pond needing to meet an agricultural use, that's not what your regulations say. I think you're changing the rules in the middle of the game. You have in front of you, I think, the most detailed diagram and specifications for a pond you've ever seen or ever approved. And whether you call it a pond or a lake, up to you what your terminology is, but we followed your rules to the letter. And when you wanted more information, we provided the information that you had requested. If you are denying or going to deny the application based on what you believe the intended use of the earth is going to be, please put that in your record. Please put that in your record and be fair to everyone so that we know the next step. But what you're doing right now by saying and surmising that we're going to put this property to an industrial use isn't consistent with the plans we gave you. It isn't consistent with the information that you requested. We followed the letter from the prosecutor to the letter. Every single thing that was requested of us from the prosecutor, we have provided in detail. We provided in textual form, we provided it in written form, and on engineering diagrams. We have met your requirements. So,
I'm just gonna note this for the record, this was given to us today.
understood.
This, for the record.
Understand.
So
I
we're
do
trying
not-
to process here.
I understand that, and I understand the need to process. I
Okay.
get it. I am very surprised to hear for the first time that now there's a new set of criteria that has not been discussed before. The quote-unquote industrial use, if there was a quote-unquote industrial use, was known at the first meeting, and it was known when the application came in. The folks that I represent have never lied to anyone about what their intended use is. Never once. You folks knew this from the very beginning of the application. To sit here tonight and pop this on us as a rationale is unfair, and it's inconsistent with your regulations. And I mean no disrespect. You asked me a direct question, I'm giving you a direct answer. What you're doing here is not consistent with your regulations. If you wanted rules that said you can't dig a deep or big pond, or a pond that isn't consistently deep across its entire water level, which, by the way, I'm not familiar with, that should have been in your regs. But I think you're going outside of your regulations now. We get that there's a bias against landfill operations. We understand that. We're not fools. But what is being done here is a legitimate request. It's been done twice now at your request. And now, at the second meeting, we've got a third set of criteria, and to answer your question, sir, I don't believe that's appropriate. Not from a legal standpoint, not from the standpoint of being honest and straightforward.
Yeah. I mean, you guys called it a borrow pit, so that's,
I'm sorry?
you guys called it a borrow pit.
I've never called it a ball.
Yeah. That word never, well,
I didn't, I don't know.
I don't know who did or who didn't. I'm answering questions from a legal standpoint because I'm not smart enough to be an engineer. But I was asked about this issue regarding, is this an industrial use? No, this is an industrial use on this land. And I think your counsel will tell you, you reach a point where in Ohio and in America, there's a limit to how you can tell people to use, how they can use the land that they have bought and paid for. And this use is not illegal under your regulations. You could make it that if you wanted to, but you haven't. And we have gone far and above beyond your regulations regarding a pond. The regulation requires a drawing. You've got engineering prints in front of you that are describing this. And when you start talking about things like depth and inconsistencies in the water levels, you won't find any of that anywhere in your regulations. If you're expecting us to play by the rules and tell us what the rules are first,
If you wanna look at the rules, page 55, section 16, site plan review, all districts. It says in there what we require. One of them is, scale of 1 inch equals 100 feet, if it's over 3 acres. If it's under 3 acres, 1 inch equals 50 feet.
This isn't a site plan, and your regulations don't require that for a pond. Your regulations specifically require a drawing.
You are just looking at one section, you're not looking at the whole zoning.
I've read the whole book, sir.
I
I've read the
think
whole
you
book,
have.
and I'm telling
And I don't
you,
wanna argue with you. This
I'm
is-
not gonna
this is
argue with you,
plain.
but I am gonna tell you this. I mean, we're all here to make a record. If you wanted a site plan, you should have put it in your rules. You didn't put it in your rules.
It's on page 55.
No, sir, not for
Yes, it
this.
is.
Not for a pond. Not for a pond, it's not.
Okay.
You have specific rules for a pond, we've met them.
For consideration, and then we should move on with whatever.
Okay.
You guys, anybody that wants, that hasn't spoken, we're gonna start with them first, if you could. Michelle?
So, my name is Rochelle Harmon, and my land that my husband and I. Okay. So my husband and I are farmers. We farm the land catty corner from the Wind Waste Project and the Lowry sisters, who I don't see any of them three sitting out here tonight. But at the last meeting, the residents of Fostoria, Washington Township, and surrounding areas all got the chance to let their voices be heard at the meeting. Actually, I did kind of write a letter that was read, but because I'm an adjacent landowner to this project, I wanted my voice to be heard. However, what voice does the soil the Lowry sisters want to sell the Wind Waste get? Soil is the source of all life. Soil provides nutrients to sustain plants for food and energy and anchors their roots. By absorbing, releasing, and purifying most of the water on Earth, it supplies us with drinking water, regulates excess rainfall, and prevents floods. Much of the planet's biodiversity resides in the soil. It's estimated that an acre of soil may contain 900 pounds of earthworms, 2,400 pounds of fungi, 1,500 pounds of bacteria, 133 pounds of protozoa, 890 pounds of arthropods and algae, and even sometimes small mammals. 1 gram of soil may hold 1 billion bacteria, of which only 5% has been discovered. Soil acts as a buffer against pollutants such as heavy metals and excess nutrients. Moreover, soil is critical in helping slow climate change. As the largest carbon sink on land, it stores over 3 times more carbon than forest and other vegetations. So the Lowry soil actually is already doing a great job protecting other farmland from the pollutants of Sunny Farm and Wind Waste already. Now the Lowry sisters want to change that by industrial strip mining the good soil and leaving a borrow pit to be filled with water and turned into a 94-acre lake and ultimately a park. As mentioned numerous times, Sunny Farms brings in the majority of out-of-state waste, which consists mostly of construction and waste from public landfills because they are a private landfill. So let the soil have a voice and continue to protect other neighboring farms such as mine. Don't allow them to do any more destruction. Don't allow industrial strip mining of good agricultural topsoil, constructing a borrow pit, and filling with water to create a 94-acre lake because it's 94 acres. That's no pond. 5 acres and under is the Google definition of a pond. 20 feet and under is the Google definition of a pond. This is not either of those. This is a lake. Thank you.
Oh, yes, Deb Tyson from Fostoria. I spoke last time. I have a map here. I thought that it had been sent to maybe an email. It shows the landfill, but it also shows where Fostoria's water starts, which, according to this map, to my understanding, it's on that said property. And so my concern is, all of a sudden, my water's gonna have another problem. And I would like to submit it. if I may. I've talked to the Army Corps of Engineers, even in Buffalo, New York, and EPA is having a meeting in February 5th in Fostoria about this as well, and I've been in contact with them as well. Any questions for me? That's all I have to say. I make it short and sweet.
Anybody else want to speak?
I got a question for Mr. Neuter. A few years ago, I sat across the table from you, and you put that hole in the ground by 224. I asked you what he's gonna do with that. He's told me he's gonna make a beautiful lake out of that where people wanna take their families and have picnics. I drove by there the other day, there's about 4 trainloads of trash sitting there that smelled. Now, who's gonna wanna take their family there to have a picnic? And when are you gonna make a beautiful pond out of that, or lake?
Do you want me to?
No, unless it's gonna be productive, which I don't know that it would be. Respectfully, sir. Darcy, please focus on addressing, please.
Renee Vogelsong, Fostoria. I'm just recently getting really involved with this, reading up on some more stuff and that. My thing is, they wanted to pull the dirt because they're bringing in more and more rail cars. They want to bring in more. They need more dirt. If they're a business, which they are, they're a private business. Then if they want to bring in more trash, make a higher hill, bring in some more dirt from New York, Connecticut, wherever they're getting the trash. Bring in dirt then too, instead of using the dirt that's here. Why use to disrupt the land around when if they're going to bring in the trash, bring in the dirt with it?
Well said.
I have a question I want to ask you guys. Is this correct verbiage under the ponds, part C? I don't know if what I looked up is over there, correct? Correct? Because this says a permit may be issued only after zoning commission approval, and if such and such is supplied. It doesn't say that you have to, because someone from Water and Soil said that you do. It says you approve it first.
What is your name, I'm sorry?
Allison Bowman, I'm sorry.
Nope, you're okay.
And then, in the beginning, the resolution, obviously we all know, it says, it's enacted for the purpose of promoting public health, safety, morals, comfort, general welfare, to conserve and protect property values, secure the most appropriate use of land, and facilitate adequate but economical provision of public improvements, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, are we allowing this in here? Is that doing all of those things, or is it not? And when they were talking about this 20-foot hill above the water, doesn't sound very safe for someone who's enjoying the property and falling down the hill. That's all.
You take the whole zoning book into consideration.
Albert Kelvin. I've lived in Washington Township all my life. What year did the zoning start?
61.
Huh?
61.
61. My dad and mom farmed the Vogel Farm, which was Dreisball's. Charlie Dreisball said there'd be a park at the end of the road. He didn't talk about out by there. Was there a strip of ground reserved for that at one time?
In the original zoning?
Yeah. Well, in 61, did they write the paperwork for such a thing? They wrote it to protect the farmland.
Right. And parks are supposed to be publicly owned. Parks and recreation areas. Right?
There's a recreational
And they don't, how do they intend to fill it? If they ever fill it?
Mother Nature.
Mother Nature. How long is that going to take? The end result is a loss. I don't see what the taxpayers should have to pay for it, because it's a loss. When they get done with it, they can't generate an income unless somebody manages it. So it's a public loss. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
So, I'm just kind of curious on how many beautiful lakes and ponds we need around this area. Community parks, stuff like that, out here in the middle of nowhere. And none of these people could start a business and just put a sign up in their yard or
That's
anything, right? But they could sell this land, take all the dirt they want, and say it's gonna be a park. But like the other gentleman said, the park on 224 ain't looking very pleasing. And that's been several years they've been working on that, I believe. Just wondering how many parks we need.
I want it on record again that Jerry Lowry was here last meeting, and he stated that the house that Raymond Lowry used to live in and the house next door, that both septic tiles run into that field, just so all of you are aware of that. Because they want to make this a park with swimming and boating and all kinds of things like that. Do you want to let your children go swimming in a septic tile cottage area?
And that was a concern the health department had.
Yep. Valid point. Thank you, Lindsay, for making that point. Lindsay's my friend.
So is there any truth that you guys gotta okay this for this to happen? Or is it already done, said it's gonna happen?
We have to okay it for it to happen.
So if you board decide, and the community decides that you don't want it to happen, what's the next step then? Where does it go from there?
They probably sue.
Sorry?
They probably sue. That's what they're doing everywhere else. The purpose of zoning is to protect the health and welfare of the township. Is this doing that? Especially when you compare it to 224.
I mean, I'm pretty sure blasting is being done.
Say your name first.
Ashley Stahl.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure blasting is being done over there. It's basically an industrial mining operation. It is not a pond or a lake. And that land, if it is zoned agricultural, can they assure you that that land will not be used for industrial? Like, what is there to protect and safeguard against them lying? That's not, they're sitting here saying that you're throwing things in their face last minute. One, you guys got the wrong paperwork last minute. Two, they're not being fully honest about, we all know what's gonna happen with that dirt.
Mary Jo Bowes. What's gonna happen after they use that? They're gonna wanna build more land, more hills, they're gonna need more ground. So where are they gonna go? Washington Township and get another farmer to do the same thing.
Motion to deny the application.
I've put together a resolution for you to use. It has neither, you have to choose whether you're approving or denying and your reasoning for it added into it. So, he's not committing to it. If you want to read that into the record, you can.
All attempts, this is the first time seeing it, so just bear with me here. So, the Washington Township Zoning Commission met in special session on, you want to read the whole thing? No, just
Go ahead and read it.
okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Now it be therefore resolved that the Washington Township Zoning Commission hereby denies the issuance of a zoning certificate for the construction of a pond for recreational use by Winways Innovations of Seneca County LLC.
In there, you have to add in your reasoning for why you want to have it denied. So you move to deny, but you need to have reasoning.
Reasons to deny.
When you look at the zoning resolution as a whole, it does not meet the it's not promoting
Just reference the resolution instead of writing it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, we were discussing rules over here.
yeah, 519 or higher roads.
Why don't you withdraw your first motion while you guys are sorting this out, then you can move to, because it hasn't been seconded, it's gonna die anyways until the second comes along, so just for the record, you wanna withdraw it for now?
Yeah, we'll withdraw it now, so we get our reasons.
And then the zoning resolution as a whole.
No.
No. I got 519 Ohio Revised Code is what I've got.
519 is the code section under, all of zoning for townships. If you're, saying that it, what's the basis of the 519? It needs to be amended to industrial users, or are you saying?
That's one of the things, but it, like, you know, it doesn't meet
The criteria on page 55 and 54?
yeah.
Article 1
17
tells the
being
name
made.
of it. Hold on. Sorry. Go ahead.
the intent of the ag district.
Okay. Do you want me to reference the pages, just so you have the section, section and page and section that would do, so you guys can identify what that purpose was. You guys help me out and look at it while I write, because I can't do both at the same time. So the intent of the ag district is section and page number, please.
Section 1, 17.
Okay, and then the 519.
That's where it talks about the purpose. Promoting public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare. Page 4.
Don't look pretty. I'll grab it later. Why do I have a separate piece of paper in there than me? What is that? Oh my goodness. Also, the Bruce Club of Bar Pit and the Invaders. That is an industrial use. I've got 4, if that sounds great. I have page 4, 519 Ohio Revised Code, page 17, section 1, the intent of an ag district doesn't adhere to the site plan for all districts. The industrial use for strip mine to create a farm. Which would be more, and those would be the reasons. Okay, the resolution, just say see attached and attach that to this. And it'll all be part of the same. Yeah, I can spell it in the name of this. Oh, you're okay. I could have filled this out earlier. I didn't even say something. I was sitting over there. Where is that? Oh, we didn't know what we were doing.
Move again, Rob?
You want me to go back and read that whole thing?
I can read it.
Did she make the motion or?
You're making the motion that she reads the resolution and to deny and all the stuff.
There you go.
Okay. And I can just start here. Rob Coleman moved for the adoption of the following resolution. Whereas the Washington Township Zoning Commission held a public meeting on January 8th, 2024, and then continued the meeting December 11th, 2023, and then continued the meeting to the above date to receive public comment as the proposed issuance of the zoning certificate of the construction of pond for recreational use. And whereas each Washington Zoning Commission member has read and reviewed the application for zoning certificate, and whereas the Commission has requested and received further clarifications from Wind Waste Innovations of Seneca County LLC regarding the application. And whereas after consideration of the public comments expressed at such meeting, the Washington Township finds that it does not abide by page 4, 509 Ohio Revised Code, page 17, section 1, the intent of an ag district. It doesn't adhere to the site plan to all districts. It is, in fact, industrial use for the strip mining to create a borough pit would be appropriate in I-2 district, not I-1. Keep going? Yes, okay. Now be it therefore, Now be it therefore resolved that the Washington Township Zoning Commission hereby denies the issuance of the zoning certificate for the construction of the pond for recreation use by Wind Waste Innovations of Seneca County LLC. Now it be therefore resolved by the Washington Township Zoning Commission that the Secretary of the Commission is directed to certify this resolution to the Washington Township Zoning Inspector. I need a second, please.
Need a second, please.
Randy Bose seconded the resolution, and the roll being called upon its adoption, the vote is resolved as Ed Harmon. Roll call vote, please. Marie Corbin, yes. Randall Carrion,
Yes.
Rob Coleman,
Yes.
Randy Bose.
Yes.
Then each of you sign beside your vote, or is you recorded the vote?
I'm gonna keep this, just so we don't.
After the meeting tonight, you'll have to get a copy of that made and serve it on the petitioner.
Okay.
We're ready to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.
No,